Beyond the buzzer, inside the game, this is SportsIQ with Larry Smith.
Hey, we made it to the end of the week. Glad you're here with us. Larry Smith here, along with our producer, Tony Cordero, our editor, Josh Ewing. Big show for you coming up here. Hondo Carpenter talking Michigan State Spartans. We love Hondo. Man, he is a character, always entertaining, and we'll talk with him. I've talked with him before, and this time I gave the reins to producer Tony to have a conversation. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. Be sure to stay tuned for that. Deon Thomas with the Illinois Radio Network is going to talk about the Illini, the loss of the night to Alabama. A lot of buzz about this team. Brad Underwood's put together in his 9th year there. International guys, 6 guys born overseas, outside the U.S. We'll talk about what the Illini are looking at here this year. And then Steve Karnacki, our friend, talking from the Karnacki Wolverine Report, talking Michigan Wolverines, football and basketball. Both are ranked right now. Wolverines football still with a shot at a CFP bid. Let's get to some headlines very quickly for you. Long night in Houston for the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen. The Texans, look out, winning their 3rd straight, holding Allen to just without a touchdown pass or rushing touchdown in the 23-19 win, sacking Allen 8 times. Never a recipe for success for Bills fans, and also picked him off twice. It was not a good night. By the way, Josh Allen has never won in Houston, and the Bills just 2-7 when Allen does not have either a rushing or passing TD. Again, Houston now 3 straight wins, all with Davis Mills at quarterback, in place of C.J. Stroud, still in concussion protocol, looking all of a sudden like a serious threat with that defense if they can make the playoffs. On the hardwood, no Wemby, no problem for the Spurs. De'Aaron Fox, 26 points. Keldon Johnson, 25. Spurs win their 3rd straight without Victor Wembanyama, toppling Atlanta 135-126. On the ice, Nathan McKinnon had 2 goals and an assist to move into 2nd place on the franchise scoring list, and the Avalanche beat the Rangers 6-3. Spending Friday inside, a lot of options for some interesting events on Friday. On the college hoops front, 23rd ranked Wisconsin taking on number 9 BYU, and their stud freshman, A.J. DeBonsa, who's averaging 20 points per game through 4 games. That's Friday night. You can find that on Peacock. Number 1 team in the country, Purdue, taking on number 15, Texas Tech, in a game down in the Bahamas. CBS Sports Network has you covered if you want to view that one from the couch. On the ladies' side, must-see TV on Fox on 8 p.m. Eastern. Number 6, Michigan, we told you earlier this week, beating teams by over 40 points per game. We'll find out just how good they are. They visit Storrs to take on top-ranked and defending champ UConn. It's a classic matchup on Fox beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern. And an old-fashioned rivalry. Number 11, USC, is in South Bend to take on 24th-ranked Fighting Irish. ESPN has all the action at 6 p.m. So get the chips and dip and get ready to start the weekend early. All right, producer Tony has our first guest.
Well, thanks, Larry, and a good friend of the show. He's been on before. He is very talented, and we want to dive in and get all we can out of Hondo Carpenter. Hondo Carpenter, senior college and NFL writer for SI. Thanks for taking some time to join us today.
Thanks for having me on, brother. I appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit. Let's start out with a specialty of yours because you are a big Michigan State fan, and we want to talk a little bit about Spartan Hoops. It was a nice win the other day against Kentucky, and Jackson Kohler looks like the real deal out there to be the lead piece of this Spartan team this year.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely true. And remember, they've got the top recruiting class in the nation right now for next year in basketball as well, and the best coach. I will tell you this. This is not to take anything away from Kohler, so don't hear that. But Tom Izzo has never built teams around one guy.
Yep.
You've seen that. And so I think what makes him great, and I think he would tell you this, by the way, is the sum of the parts around him. And I think, again, just the way that he's done it, the way that he plays, the way he plays off his teammates. Michigan State is the most unselfish basketball program in a country. They've been that way for decades. In fact, Izzo before has bemoaned to me that he wishes his team was more selfish at times. And they trust him. He trusts them. And right now, I mean, tell me a team in the country that's playing better than them.
I can't think of one right now that's playing better than Michigan State. I mean, they've looked good so far. And I love what I like is, and Izzo was doing this long before a lot of other college coaches was, but he'll go out and schedule these tough non-conference games early on in the season to kind of gauge where his team at. A lot of teams are starting to join that. We're seeing more of these interesting games now at this part of the year than we have in the past. But Izzo was one of the first to do it. And I love that because I think it just helps any team get better as the season progresses. And you've played some of these big games before you get to that March timeframe, right?
Well, yeah, let me share something that Tom Izzo does. Tom Izzo he spends countless hours looking to the future. And so he looks at teams that he thinks could be competitive, teams that he could be facing in March. And so he goes out and either tries to book those teams for early season games or teams that play their style of offense. So I remember years ago, and I don't remember the school, so I'm going to make it up. I think it may have been Princeton, but it was somebody. And again, I'm making this school up. And he couldn't get this school to play him. And there was only like 3 schools in the country that ran this offense. So he went and booked the other 2 to come in and play him, because then when in the fast turnaround of the NCAA tournament, his guys have already played the offense. They're not learning something new, and they already have tape to watch. And that is what makes Tom Izzo terrific at what he does. He has a saying with his players that in the NCAA tournament, each weekend you get past the first game, I'll get you past the second, because they're so well prepared. And so he bemoans having to play these small schools, not because he despises them. He thinks all the big schools should play each other. He thinks they're pansies. Let me just say this. Go look at Jim Boeheim and how he scheduled at Syracuse and all these alleged wins. Go look at Mike Krzyzewski. Okay, now we know Mike's a great coach. I'm not attacking either of those men. If Tom Izzo had scheduled the way those guys did, he would have another 300 wins. That's not a made up truth. That's a fact. And so people go, well, yeah, but look at his winning percentage. Okay, look at who he played.
Right.
And so he would consistently every single year, play several games that no one else would. I mean, that is why when the Champions Classic came about, he was the happiest man in America, because he said, finally, these guys are going to have to pay me. I mean, have to play me, not pay me. And that's been his style. I mean, you look at this year, he played Kentucky, he played Arkansas. He's got some other difficult games coming up. He doesn't care. He said to me one time, I was sitting in his basement and we were talking about, had he scheduled like Boeheim and some of these other people. And he said to me, he wasn't, again, referring to any specific coach. I want to make that clear. But he said, I don't care about wins in October and November. I just don't care. He goes, I care about wins in March. It's the only thing that motivates me, is I care about wins in March. And he's one of the only coaches that way. Every single year, you're going to laugh at this. Every single year, Michigan State loses games, and then people are like, oh, Izzo's lost his touch. They're not Michigan State anymore. And then every single year, they show up in March. And once you understand he doesn't care about a loss in November, he thinks those help you in March. And he thinks there have been schools that should have won a lot more titles that would have had they scheduled like him. But all of a sudden, your team shows up on a Saturday or Sunday in the first or second weekend of the tournament. You're playing an obscure school that plays an offense that you've never seen. Your guys don't have time to adjust. And that's just the reality of the situation. It's how it all works. And again, I think Tom Izzo, there's going to be textbooks written about his coaching style long after he's gone. And I think he's fundamentally changed the game.
Yeah, I mean, he has, such a great style, and I've always seen those Michigan State teams, like you said, he believes in the whole over the individual parts, and he gets more out of his players than a lot of coaches ever do with players that are 4- and 5-star recruits. And I love watching that about him. And
can I share with you an interesting story?
Yeah.
Now, I remember multiple players, and when not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, multiple players who would call me and say, can you talk to Tom? And I'm like, why? Well, I mean, I've been on your radio show. I've been on your TV show. I've given you quotes before. Michigan State's my dream school, but this other school is offering to pay me, and my mom or my dad or whatever is making me take the money if he'll just match it. And he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't cheat. And I'll tell you a great story. There was an NCAA tournament where he had a very good team, and they lost. And on the other team was a player that got on his knees in front of his mother and cried, begging her to let him go to Michigan State. And she took the money and wouldn't let him go to Michigan State.
Yeah.
And I will never forget after the game talking to the player. And I said, congratulations, you won. He goes, well, I may have won, but my team lost.
Right.
And I mean, he was almost in tears. And
Yeah.
and this guy, again, and I remember one particular time I said to him, why don't you turn this school in? Everybody knows they cheat. I mean, all they'd have to do is call me, the NCAA, and I would tell them direct quotes of what the player said to me, and my producer heard it. And he's like, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not turning people in. I'm not a snitch. He goes, I'm just going to keep doing the best I can. And I would literally remember he would lose NCAA tournament games to teams that cheated. And you would hear ignorant fans, oh, it's time for him to go. Well, okay. So you if you want him to go, it's because you want to cheat, or you're too stupid to realize others are cheating. And we're telling you.
Right.
He is just fundamentally, he has been a beacon of integrity in the sport. He has, one time there was a violation and he turned himself in, and it wasn't even a major violation, but he turned himself in, and nobody knew till he turned himself in, because the integrity of the game is everything to him. And the thing is these players still love him. He is demanding. I don't want to hear any more of this crap that today's kids have changed. They haven't. The adults have. Kids want to be coached. They want to be loved. And if you don't like that, you don't go to Michigan State. If you go there wanting pats on the backs and I love yous and a bunch of crap so they can use you, it's not what you're going to get. But if you want to go there and be coached and be tough loved and have real direction in your life, I'm going to tell you this. I know of players that have left and done Izzo dirty. And I'm not going to get into it, but dirty, not bad, dirty. And years later, when their life's falling apart, they're living in his basement rent-free. Yeah. Guys who left him and went to other schools, because that's him. Once you commit to him, you're his guy for life. It doesn't matter if you do him dirty, and he's the best in the business.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how Michigan State plays out this season. But before I let you go, I want to turn our talk to the NFL, because you're a senior writer for SI. You cover the NFL. Are we seeing, in your mind, a changing of the guard in the AFC?
That's a great question. I think what we're seeing in the NFL is a change of the league. And let me explain what I mean by that. Years ago, they set out for parity. They wanted parity. And now we're seeing that. Now you're seeing it's very difficult to hold on to a dynasty. It's very difficult. I laugh at the moronic fans in Pittsburgh who hate Mike Tomlin. Okay, that's fine. But I always ask this question: who are you going to replace him with?
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you a funny story. I was having lunch with an NFL general manager, and we were talking about the Steelers. And he goes, if I hear one more moronic fan talk about, how many playoff games he loses in year one. And the man said to me, how about how many games he won that they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs? Yeah. And he said to me, do you know how big of a line there would be if the Steelers fired him?
Oh, God.
He goes, do you know how many teams that you think right now, Hondo, have good coaches would fire their coach and replace him with Tomlin? Okay, it's just like I'm hearing that, there may be coming a parting of John Harbaugh and the Ravens. Okay. I'm not reporting that. I'm just hearing that is something that's in the background that could be festering. If that happens, okay, great. Who are you going to replace him with? Because if I'm the New York Giants, I'm the G-men, I'm not doing anything until John Harbaugh is available.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure he's not available before I do anything. These people act like, the great coaches or good coaches grow on trees. And so parity now has come in. I mean, let's look at the Broncos for a minute. I think Sean Payton is a great coach. Okay. I think he's a great coach. I don't particularly, he's a little too acerbic for me, but he's a great coach. I don't think 2 weeks ago when they played the Raiders, Denver fans were ready to run Bo Nix out of town. Bo Nix is not a Patrick Mahomes. Bo Nix, I think if you made a list of top quarterbacks, I think you could make an argument that probably kept him close to the bottom of the top 10, if not out of it. But Sean Payton does a terrific job of asking Bo Nix to do what Bo Nix does. He asks him to do nothing else. He is a great coach. And the problem is in the NFL is there's so much parity now, and they look at one team turns it around. Okay, great. One team does turn it around. But everybody thinks that's them. Everyone thinks, okay, we're just 1 year away. Raider fans right now, everyone wants Pete Carroll out. Well, let me ask you a question. Who are you going to replace him with? Right. Because you tried Josh McDaniels, who was the hottest assistant. You ran him out of town. You had Gruden. You got rid of him. You wanted him. People wanted him fired before the email thing. Okay, you had Antonio Pierce, the guy with no experience, but everybody loved him. Now you got, the point is everyone wants to fire everybody, but no one wants solutions. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to sound like an old man getting off my lawn. I love social media. I love it. I love the proliferation of radio shows and podcasts. I love it. I enjoy it. It's fun. But the bad thing is now that everybody can have a voice is we have a consumer-driven market where no one's asking, okay, but who's bringing answers? And so you'll have a guy that has 12 hot takes and they're all wrong. One of them he gets right. I called it. And nobody's holding him accountable. I got to tell you a funny thing. I'll have NFL fans will send me emails. Why don't you guys ask tough questions? Okay, well, first of all, I've got multiple degrees. I've done it for 3 decades. I absolutely ask the tough. Go back and watch the Pete Carroll press conference from Monday night when I say to him, if you don't make changes in your offense, are you in danger of telling your locker room there's no accountability for my offense? Now, I'm not dropping F-bombs. I'm not cussing guys out. But that question and that quote went viral. And you can ask things. Pete Carroll is a terrific man, a great coach, and he deserves and he has no problem with tough questions. Now, I'm not going to share anything off the record, but I talked with him after my question, and he didn't have any issue with my question.
Yeah.
But I don't have to sit there and call for guys to get fired. I don't have to drop F-bombs like an uneducated moron. And you can ask tough, but also, what are the answers? If you want everybody fired, that's great. I have no problem with firings. But what is the answer? Who's going to step in and do it better than the guy you got right now? And tell me this, riddle me this. Look at the Raiders, a once proud franchise who fires somebody every year.
Yeah.
And there's never any progress. And it's not just the Raiders. The Broncos got it right. The point of the matter is in the NFL, I don't think it's a changing of the guard. I think it's a changing of the league now. And they better be super careful. And I'm going to tell you why. The NFL is the biggest of the big dogs.
Oh, yeah.
And the only thing that can stop the NFL is the NFL. Yep. And I am concerned that there is arrogance at the highest levels that they think they're invincible. And if they separate themselves from their followers, the downfall of the NFL will be the NFL. And I would just encourage you to save that quote. I think over the next 10 years, that quote will age well. And I would also give one piece of advice to you and your listeners. Keep an eye on the John Gruden lawsuit against the NFL. I predicted when John filed that several years ago that if it goes to past all of the appeals and get to discovery, that I believe you'll see Roger Goodell exit from the NFL. And I'm just going to say this to you, that they're now, the NFL's appealing again, that it was approved to get green lighted. If this goes to the full discovery phase, I think Roger Goodell will exit. And I think that will fundamentally change the league. This is not a statement pro or against Roger. It's just the reality of the situation. And I'm going to tell you, I think the only thing that can kill the NFL is the NFL. And I love it. And I hope they don't ruin it.
Let's hope not. Yeah, I've always been a big football fan. Been watching NFL since the late 60s when I was a kid. So, let's make sure that hopefully they keep that going. Hondo Carpenter, thank you so much for taking some time and joining us. Hondo Carpenter, senior college and NFL writer for SI. Appreciate your time. And we'll be calling you back again, especially as we get closer towards playoff time and into the new year.
All right. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it. We will be right back on the Sports IQ right after a quick timeout.
You're listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show. Want to talk about with our friend Deon Thomas, been on the show once before. He's the all-time leading scorer in Illinois. He's now part of the Illinois radio broadcast as well. And the Illini basketball team getting a lot of buzz this year for a number of reasons. One, they're a good team, right? Right now they're in the top 10. But also because of all the international players. 6 players born outside the U.S. on this team. Dion, welcome back to the show. I want to talk with you first about this loss Wednesday night in Chicago there. 90-86. Illinois had the big win early. But Alabama, very athletic. But this was a very competitive game down the stretch. I always say I'd rather have, my team play a team like an Alabama and fail than have another 30-point blowout win at home, because you actually learn from this as you get ready for March.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, one of the best things that you can do is to put your team against in competitive situations. As you've seen the past several years, that's what Brad has done. And last night was no exception. Let's talk about Coach O over at Alabama is doing the exact same thing. I mean, they may have actually the toughest schedule in the world. I mean, in college sports. I mean, having played Purdue, they played St. Joe's last week. They got us this week, and they still have some other tough games that are coming up. And this is what you do when you want to test and measure your team. Last night, I thought we performed a little flat. I don't think we were beaten last night. I think we lost, which is, in a way, a good sign. As talented as this team is, we finally got all the guys back from injury, even though they haven't had a lot of opportunities to practice together. So there's nothing but shown tremendous upside last night, because against a very good Alabama team, and you didn't play your best, and you only lose by 2 points.
Yeah, and that's. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. And I was going to say, and that's a very, very encouraging.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, that watching this team, that's a thing that you guys have so much. The injuries have been there. That you haven't been complete. Tomislav Ivicic, arguably your best player. This is only the second game back. Had some issues that tonsils removed before, so he missed 16 practices, and now he's been out for another 2 weeks. And so Petrovic, the guy from Serbia, showed some flashes. I saw led the team with 5 assists in only 12 minutes. That's a nice ratio. So how good can this team be once you get all these pieces back? Andrej Stojakovic, Kylan Boswell, David Merkovic, the freshman, he's like a mini Nikola Jokic, sort of. How good can this team be once they do get everyone healthy, practicing together, and on the same page?
Wow. I could say wow. I mean, because the ceiling to this team, Larry, is very, very high. I don't want to be the one to start throwing out predictions and those kinds of things like that, because you have to play games and you have to stay healthy. And as you mentioned, that's one of the things that we have come up against this year and last year, for a matter of fact. We just now getting the whole team together. So where can this team be? I mean, they could be right there in the end. I mean, if they can get everyone healthy and keep everyone healthy and start to build the camaraderie that they're missing out on. I know a lot of the fans are disappointed with last night's game. So was I. But I would say look at it through the lens of you're finally putting the piece together, putting the pieces together on this puzzle. And I think the puzzle is going to be a beautiful picture once it's all together. And now we finally have that opportunity, and hopefully we can just keep guys healthy. I mean, because a lot of people haven't had an opportunity to see Brandon Lee play. I mean, Brandon Lee is good. I mean, he's one of the top guards in the country last year. And I mean, his height and size already as a freshman. I mean, Brad has a good thing in trying to figure out how he's going to get minutes to people. So, I mean, there's a lot of good going on right now in Champaign.
Yeah, it's exciting to watch Brandon Lee, the son of Butch Lee, the star of the 1977 NCAA champion at Marquette, and he's one of those 6 players born overseas. Another one is Andrei Stojakovic, the junior coming in, former 5-star McDonald's All-American who played a year at Stanford, a year at Cal. We've now watched him twice in these games where he's come in and really just taken over. He just is, once he kind of starts going downhill, it's like he's instant offense. And again, just scratching the surface, he's someone again who missed several weeks of practice. But boy, I can see why the coaching staff was so excited to bring him in. Here over the summer, the skill set he has is just very unique.
Well, I was fortunate to have watch him last year when he was in Cal. I mean, and he really took over that ACC tournament, man. I mean, and he really stood out. So having him back, and like you mentioned, last night we went to him a lot, and he delivered. And he's not even in tip-top shape yet. So, I mean, he's a scorer. I mean, he can put the ball in the basket. One of the things that I've been even more impressed about, and I love to see him take pride, is what he's trying to do on the defensive end. I mean, we all remember the big block shot in Texas Tech last night. I thought he and Keegan Weigler and Kylan Boswell did a really good job on the Alabama guards for the most point until, the finally really got going there towards the end when he and Kylan Boswell were going back and forth. We just couldn't hold him down. But from the standpoint of looking at where this team could be, where Stojakovic is and the other guys that are going to be getting healthy, man, we got a chance to be really good, Al.
Absolutely. Talking with Deon Thomas again. He's a member of the Illinois Fighting Illini radio broadcast team. One thing Illinois has never done in program history is score 2 wins over ranked teams in November. They already had the win over Texas Tech, a chance now next week against a UConn team that also lost Wednesday night. We were just saying yesterday's show, we were talking about, when you look at this, I mean, this was, that FS1 lineup was like a Final Four night where you had Arizona, UConn in game 1, Illinois, Alabama in game 2, in terms of just 2 power matchups. Kudos to the staff for putting that together, whoever did that over at Fox. Now, UConn in New York City at Madison Square Garden on Black Friday next week, and a chance to get that second win. And to really, again, UConn's that team that had the 30-0 run in the Elite Eight game on their way to the championship, taking Illinois out of the Elite Eight and denying them a trip to the Final Four a couple of years ago. And now here's a chance to not only exercise that demon, but also the last trip to New York last February, the game against Duke, where nothing went right. But Illinois has done before that. Illinois has done very well in New York, and it's fun to see this program play on that big stage now in the regular season for the 4th year in a row.
No, it definitely is. That's one of the great things, we can harken back to yesterday's game, being back in Chicago. Game didn't go the way we wanted, but being able to play a game at the United Center, now you move on and you playing in Madison Square Garden, you're right. First of all, that lineup was amazing last night. I agree 100%. Now you get to come back and you playing another game in the greatest arena in sports, and you're playing against one of the best teams in the country. And now I will say this, man, I am so glad that's not that team 3 years ago. That team was laden with the NBA guys, and you could see the difference and what was going on the floor. I think the two teams now are a closer comparison with the size, the abilities. I think Illinois' bigs, if you can get them back healthy, shoot the ball a lot better than the bigs at UConn. So it's going to be really interesting to see what game plans both teams put together, because that UConn team is very good. I mean, you don't get to be the number, I think, 4 team in the nation or 5, whatever they were, if you're not. And they just happened to run up against a better Arizona team. But that was a close game. I was kind of watching it before our games got going while we were on at the table last night. But that's a really good team. And we're going to have to come out and play better than we did against this Alabama team if we want to have a chance to win, because I think that UConn team is better than the Alabama team. But I think we had a really good chance to win last night, and I think we have a good chance to win on Friday.
Yeah, I think that's the thing with this team right now, and clearly around the nation, everyone feels that this is Illinois is what Brad Underwood likes to say his favorite word, elite. He says that a lot, and I think this is one of those teams, and they're proving it again. Texas Tech, Alabama, UConn next week, still have Tennessee the week after that, Missouri later, and then, of course, the gauntlet in the Big Ten. What is different about this Illini team from perhaps last year's team that gives you optimism that there's just something special, different, and this really is a team that has a chance to go further than what last year's team did?
Well, with all of the changes, I mean, people would look at it and like, man, why are they doing this? Why are so many different players coming in? One of the reasons this team, and what leads me to be optimistic about this team, is the age of this team. Team has more experience than last year's team. I think it's more solid at every position. The positional size of this team as well. Now you got 2 7-footers in there. Your 4-man is 6'9", 255-pound freshman that, as you said, is kind of like a mini Jokic because of all of the things that he can do on the court. So I think our interior is a lot stronger than what it was last year. And then you move out to the exterior, we're older at that position. I mean, even Mikhailo Petrovic is an older player. He's not a freshman. So once you have that age to be able to help the youth, to be able to help Keegan Wagler, to be able to assist Brandon Lee in understanding what has to be done on this level to be successful. And I think Keegan has showed that earlier, was not as dynamic last night. But again, I don't think he's played very many games in front of 17,000 people either. So, you get in those situations and in those games and you learn from them. So that experience will help this team. This skill level of each and every individual player on this team. I mean, you have your 6'10", 6'9", 6'10" power forward can get the ball and push it up the floor like a guard. The shooting ability of this team, and we only made, I think, 10 threes last night, but if the offense and when things are clicking, this is a team that can make 10, 12, 15 three-pointers in a game and can still get downhill. Last night was a not so good of a free throw shooting night, but this is a team that has shot over 80, 90% in previous games that they've shown already this year. So when things are clicking, this is a team offensively that can be there with anyone. And then the way they can defend on the perimeter, starting with Bam, is, elite, as Brad throws that word out. The shot blocking around the rim with Tomislav and Zvonimir is elite. And so they can make it tough when you're in both areas. But I would say the skill level and the experience level of this team is what makes me feel so optimistic.
Yeah, and certainly Boswell's been a great leader. You mentioned in terms of getting inside the loss to Alabama, Illinois still was plus 10 on points in the paint. We talked about international players, 6 of them born outside the U.S., 2, Brandon Lee and Andrej Stojakovic, played high school ball in the States. But the 4 guys coming in from overseas, the Avicius twins you mentioned from Croatia, Mirkovic from Montenegro, and then Petrovic from Serbia. What has that mix been like to have all these different cultures? Reading stories, Mike DeCourcy, our friend who's going to be on the show on Monday on SportsIQ, he was talking about, he just did a great story on the Sporting News, if you haven't seen it, about the international flavor, all these guys coming together. Different music, some different customs. What's that been like to have this kind of mix on this team?
It's been great. I mean, you see the guys getting together, bonding, and learning not just about the players that they're playing with, but learning about where they're from. Being able to communicate on various levels and learn the differences in how they grew up and learn the game over there as opposed to how we do and have done over here, I think is great. Just those experiences alone. And if you look at the camaraderie that these guys have been able to build in such a short time, I'm sure everyone saw the Stojakovic and Kylan Boswell videos that were been posted about how he, bothered him all summer for him to come to Illinois and then travel to his home, and they got to spend all of this time together. Those are great things. And you were 100% right. You mentioned Brad and the way things are going. When I went over to Spain in 1994, this is what I saw as far as players. And now that is the norm here in the United States, with the bigs having the skill that they do. The influx of European players every year into the NBA and into the college ranks. Brad was just a little bit of a step ahead above everyone else in getting those types of things done. So from top to bottom, the experiences that they have together on the floor, the experiences that they are gathering from one another in life has been nothing but positive. It's been really good to watch.
Yeah, I love the international style of play. I think they're very skilled in fundamentals. By the way, Dion just became a grandfather. Congratulations there, my friend. We got to run, unfortunately. Deon Thomas, so the Illinois radio broadcast team. And again, the Illini losing to Alabama, but a couple of games and a big matchup next week in New York against UConn. All right, stay with us. Much more to come here on the Sports IQ.
You're locked in to Sports IQ with Larry Smith.
Welcome back here to the show as we continue talking college football, also some basketball as well, because Michigan Wolverines are ranked in the top 25 in both. And joining us once again, friend of the show, Steve Kornacki. He is the author, founder, publisher of the Kornacki Wolverine Report. You can find that on Substack. Steve, good to talk to you again. Here we go, Michigan. One of those teams, because the SEC is going on and you get 3 undefeated teams still, but boy, they're 8-2, 6-1 in the Big Ten. They're a team that I think should be getting more love right now.
I think you're right, and here's why. I mean, look at Miami. Like, they're ranked below Miami. Come on, Miami's lost to 2 unranked teams. Miami is not a good team. Michigan, I'm not saying is a great team, but their losses have been to USC and Oklahoma, good teams, ranked teams, fairly highly ranked teams. And for whatever reason, they're not getting. It's just like, how low can we put Michigan? Is almost like how the vote's going. But the bottom line is, it doesn't matter because if they lose to Ohio State, they don't have a shot at the playoff. And if they beat Ohio State, how can they deny them? I mean, they've got to beat Maryland first, and Maryland's not. The Big Ten's a funny conference. It's almost like nobody just lays over and dies. Yeah. There's not that, well, there's no way you can lose that game kind of game. So I'm not assuming that. I mean, Michigan's capable of beating and losing to anybody, as most teams are. For me, I look at Michigan, I look at Ohio State and Indiana, and it's like, those are the 2 best teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, they just are. And from 3 to 25, who knows? Who knows? I honestly, you could take those 3 to 25 teams, throw them in a hat, and pull up any one of them. They're number 3, like Texas A&M. In fact, I was watching Colin Cowherd yesterday, or one day this week, and he's saying, Texas A&M, I don't get it. I've watched them 3 times. I don't get it. They're not the 3rd best team in the country. There's no way. And I agree with him. And it's just going to be a real interesting playoff run, because typically there's like this 4, 5, 6 teams that are better than the rest. And that's probably what's going to sift out to get to the semifinals. But this year, who knows? And Ohio State and Indiana will probably have to play in the Big Ten championship game if Ohio State beats Michigan, and which everybody will be predicting. So what happens then? It's a very different season in that it's really open season.
Yeah, I totally agree. And right now, as you mentioned, Michigan coming in the other night in the latest college football playoff ranking at number 18. But I think it's interesting, and we talked last week about going into last weekend, there were 23 Power 4 teams plus Notre Dame that had 2 losses or less. And we were saying, listen, there are going to be some 2-loss teams that'll be left out of this because there are only 11 slots plus the group of 5 teams. So to your point, that's one where, Michigan, you have to put them right there. But that's what I'm saying is that if they beat Ohio State, and I think Ohio State still gets in, I don't know the tie break and how that goes. I'm not really sure. But how do you leave out a 10-2, assuming they beat Michigan or beat Maryland and they beat Ohio State? How do you leave out a team that went 10-2 overall, only 2 losses, as you mentioned, to ranked teams, that went 7-1 in one of the top 2 power conferences and then not get a bid? That's a pretty strong resume.
Yeah, I don't see how those people can get together in that room and not put Michigan in the playoff field if they win. I mean, they've got to win first, and that's going to be a heck of a feat. But last year was probably the game of I've been covering these games actually since 1979. Probably the most lopsided for Ohio State feeling I've ever had in any game by far. Like, there's no way Michigan can win this game. They had a quarterback that threw for 60 some yards, no touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Davis Warren's a great kid. He's a fabulous kid, but he's not that great of a quarterback. How in the world how do you beat Ohio State, which has everything going for it, without a great quarterback? And I don't know. The defense was tremendous last year. Michigan had a much better defense last year than it has this year, but it still has a pretty good defense, and it has a much better offense. So, looking at Bryce Underwood, he's got he's been hot and cold, and he's got 1,951 yards, completed 62% of his passes, 7 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Pretty pedestrian numbers, but he's a freshman. He's run for 302 yards. And when you take the sacks out, he's got 305 yards, and he's got a 6.6 average. So if they can get either Justice Haynes or Jordan Marshall ready to go in that Ohio State game, watch out. If Underwood clicks in the first half against Northwestern, he clicked and he was really good. And it's like, this is the guy that we were expecting. The second half, he was, other than the final drive when he had to he had to make a 3rd and long completion on the sideline, which he did. And he had to pick up, it was 3rd and long, but it was less than 10 yards with a run. And he did both times. And they got in the field goal range, and Dominic Zavada, drilled it down the middle and got carried off the field. and they had a win against Northwestern, which they should have won handily in that game, I think, but they made too many mistakes. They had 5 turnovers. So it's a very vulnerable Michigan team, but it's also a very capable Michigan team. And which one do you get? And how deep is Michigan into Ohio State's heads? I mean, they've lost 4 straight games. There's a lot of psychological damage there for Ohio State, and I think the key to that game will be Michigan getting an early turnover on one of the first 2 possessions for Ohio State. They intercept the ball, they pick up a fumble, they turn the tide, they get the crowd going, and Ohio State starts thinking, "Here we go again. Here we go again." Like, what is it with these guys? And you can't deny those kind of thoughts when you're on a downward slide in a rivalry series. Michigan's been there very recently, where Ohio State was deep into their heads. Like, how can we beat these guys? We just can't beat these guys. Well, now Ohio State's in that place, and they could very well win by 21 points, but they also could lose by a touchdown. It's just what happens early in that game is going to have a lot to say with what happens.
Right. I want to talk a little Michigan basketball as well. Right now, number 6 in the country, off to a 4-0 start after beating MTSU a couple of nights ago, 86-61. New look right there for Dusty May, and it feels like he's beginning to shape this team into kind of his image of what he would like. They had the good run last year, lost some guys to the NBA, but really love what they've put together right now here in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, he has a great feel for putting a team together that enjoys playing together. And there's so much to be said for that, because when something goes wrong in a game, you don't get the finger pointing. When they need to rally, they want to win for each other. They truly do. I mean, a lot of teams say that, but it doesn't happen as often as coaches would like. Dusty has a great feel for getting the right people that fit into, that positive attitude. Enjoy having, I always watch teams on the sideline. And what are they doing? Are they sitting there like lumps? Just, are they talking to each other? Are they enjoying it? Are they looking like they're in a job? What's the and in Michigan basketball, they're having fun. I mean, it's just a great bunch of guys, and they're, they're good personalities. They're good kids, and they've got a lot of talent. They also, like most teams, have their vulnerabilities. But they've got like this Lendeborg kid, the Axel Lendeborg that they got from UAB, he was the conference player of the year down there last year, and a tremendous defensive player who averaged like 18 points and 12 rebounds or something like that. But he can take over a game like he did last night against Middle Tennessee State, when he had, I believe, 25 points and 10 rebounds. And they've got the 7'3" kid from UCLA, Adayamara, who has looked really good at times and not so good at some other times. He's inconsistent, but he gives you something that is hard to get. He gives you 7'3" in the center. Mm-hmm. And their point guard from North Carolina, Elliot Cadeau, mm-hmm. he looked great in the first two games. Mm-hmm. Not so in the last two games. I kind of want to see more consistency from him. Got a great looking freshman guard named Trey McKinney, who is Mr. Basketball in Michigan. Mm-hmm. He looks like a junior in terms of his physique and his physicality, and he's going to put it together and I think be a dynamic player. Will Cheddar, the fiery leader off the bench, but he did start last night. He got a start last night in the forward. He's a heck of a talk about watching what a team does on the sideline. Watch Will Cheddar. He never stops encouraging people and firing up and loudly applauding a three and all those kind of things. He's just I'm leaving somebody out here, so I'm afraid I've done that. But just a fun team to watch, and that's that's the essence of Dusty May's teams. They're mm-hmm. fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big test coming up this week as they go out in the tournament out west, taking on San Diego State, and then number 22 Auburn, and then right into Big Ten play a week later. Very early start. Big Ten with the 20-game conference slate. They always play 20 games in conference. Rutgers playing there at Chrysler Arena on the 6th, and then they've got Maryland later on a week later out in College Park. Hey, Steve, we will leave it there. So much to talk about here with Wolverine football and basketball. Can't wait for next weekend, the big game there at the Big House. And again, with the Wolverines possibly a shot at the college football playoff, we will see what happens.
Yeah, if anybody ever gets a chance to go to the Michigan-Ohio State game, there's nothing quite like walking to that game.
Yeah,
you can feel the animosity, like the visiting fans, right, and the local fans. You can really feel it. It's the only place and you know what, I have to admit, I've been to 3 or 4 Auburn, Alabama games. That is really something. Yeah, that takes the cake. And Michigan and Ohio State is a better on the field rivalry, but that game, in terms of the fans, it's like life and death to those people. I mean, some people, Ohio State and Michigan fans, say it's also that way, but with Auburn, Alabama fans, they're all that way, and you really feel something special at an Auburn, Alabama game too.
Yeah, fun weekend coming up next weekend. Steve, thanks so much. Steve Kornacki, once again, he's the Kornacki Wolverine Report. You can find that on Substack. Great to get his insights here on the Sports IQ. We've got more to come as we continue here on the Sports IQ after this. All right, producer Tony joining us now. Very quickly, a couple of big games here this weekend, Tony. One, Oregon USC. Man, this is one USC must win this game to stay in the hunt.
Yeah, absolutely. The Trojans can't afford another loss. Oregon maybe could. I'm not so sure these days. I'm not sure how many teams are going to get in from the Big Ten. So this is a must win for both of them. I'm looking forward to seeing the quarterback battle out there, the USC quarterback against Dante Moore, and see who comes up with the better. Whoever can take better care of the ball, I think their team has a better chance of winning.
Yeah, Oregon, one loss, you're probably a shoe in. 2 losses, like you said, probably in. But these days, let's not risk it. Yeah, so absolutely. Then the ACC, Georgia Tech right now, again, trying to get this win to lock in a bid to the conference championship game. But Pitt is right there. They have something to play for as well.
Absolutely. Both teams have got to get that win to not only keep playoff hopes alive, but to keep that conference championship hope alive. Tech wins it, they're in. That's it. They lock up one spot, which is good for them. Pitt needs that win because if not, they still got to play Miami coming up the week after that. Yeah. They've got issues coming up. If they can't win these last two, they're definitely not getting in the playoff. Their only path to the playoff right now is to win the ACC championship, and they know it.
Yeah, and we've seen that again with them, with the ACC. They've got still so many teams with one loss. And surprisingly, Pitt, 7-3, did not look good against Notre Dame. But like you said, you went out here and you've got a shot at it. Okay, hey, let's get to our moment of awe up next. All right, time now for a moment of awe. And, man, this is a great way to finish off the week. Con Knippel, is the rookie for the Charlotte Hornets, who is from Milwaukee. You might have seen the story. The team is going to be in Milwaukee, and so the parents said, hey, come by for dinner and bring a friend. Well, a couple hours later, he texted, I think the whole team is coming. So they already had like 15 pounds of chicken fajitas prepared. They went and prepared 10 more. And here's the entire NBA team, Charlotte Hornets, coming to the house. His mom joked, where our ceilings in the basements are only 7 feet 5 inches tall. Mason Plumlee himself is 7 foot. So it was pretty cool. They stayed outside, hung out outside, signed autographs for people in the neighborhood. Love this story. We're big fans of, we don't talk a lot about Con. He was always, kind of in the backseat to Cooper Flag at Duke. But I know Tony agrees with me. We think that he is going to be a fantastic NBA player and what a solid citizen as well. And again, great parents. By the way, younger brothers, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Of course, they all play ball. There you go. Cool moment of all. Hey, I appreciate our guest stopping by. I appreciate you as well. Make this a great weekend, and we'll do it again on Monday here on the Sports IQ.
Thanks for listening to Sports IQ with Larry Smith, Monday through Friday. Continue the conversation at SportsIQ LS. We'll see you next time.